That's what I'm talking about, Marcellus Wiley. This video is brought to you by The Officer Tatum Store. The Officer Tatum Store. Get the merch link in the description section. Like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get notifications anytime I go live or make a video. If you want to be a part of the Tatum Squad, hit that join button so you can join the Tatum Squad. Like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Let's get into this. Before I start the Marcellus Wiley video, I want to let you guys know because of your efforts, Officer Corbin Seward was reinstated. They gave him his gun back. They gave him his power back. But we still got to keep fighting. I'll let you know once they finish all of this BS about disciplining them. We're gonna keep fighting. I'm just letting you know that your power and your fight has made a difference, and we got to start standing up to this stuff. Anyway, let's get into this Marcellus Wiley video. So Marcellus Wiley, I mean, at first when it was him, and I forget the other guy's name, and I love him. I talk to him on the phone all the time. I forget his name. But it was him and the other gentleman who had the show together, and they used to always talk about political stuff, or when they get to political stuff, I felt like Marcellus Wiley was less conservative. However, now that he's running the show and now he has Acho on there, or whatever his name is, he's probably the biggest, most powerful conservative voice in the sports arena, period. If you don't know who Marcellus Wiley is, it's this gentleman right here. He was an excellent football player. I believe he played defensive end. He was awesome. He was awesome. Marcellus Wiley was the man. However, I think that more importantly, he's a stand-up man. He's a voice of reason for logical black people. Black people who are not victims, and he was raised right. He got a good head on his shoulder. I love this guy, man. I love this guy. Him, Charles Barkley. I think he's a lot more articulate than Charles Barkley, but him and Charles Barkley and some of these other black athletes that are standing up for truth and not caring about what people think, I love him, man. One day I hope he can come on my show so I can talk to him, or I can just meet him in person, man. We can have a cigar together, or whatever the case may be. But this dude is the man, in my personal opinion. Not because he agree with me, because he's a free thinker. He say things that I don't agree with sometimes. However, I respect the man's gangster. I respect the fact that he can think for himself. So let me let y'all hear what Marcellus Wiley said about LeBron James. And I felt like this was probably one of the most epic statements in the midst of backlash culture. Roll the film.
LeBron James has to understand, man. He goes out there and says, well, you know, we live in two different Americas. I don't believe that America's divided. I just think we're different.
Great point. We just different.
And right now, it's getting highlighted more so than ever, so it's getting exaggerated. Braun says he's scared to leave his house. Why? What? I'm not scared to leave my house, and I'm not LeBron James. I'm not enamored like LeBron James. He's scared to leave his house? We could have that conversation another day. LeBron James, in this tweet, what does he say? Oh, man, the system. The system. The same system that is so broken it allows you to become a billionaire and never get arrested in it. But the system is broken. Are you speaking for other people? We have enough people out here telling us what not to do.
I love that. I love that. I just want to break it down. I want to break it down. The system, they always talk about the system. They don't have a personal example. They don't have any information. It's the system, though. The boogeyman. LeBron James, like Marcellus said, never was arrested in this system, became a multimillionaire at 18 years old, signing a $90 million contract with Nike. How do I remember that? Because I remember when he signed it, and my mind was blown that an 18-year-old man was making that much bank. Keep going, Marcel. Keep going.
What goes wrong? How about somebody who has made it? Single parent. LeBron James, he went to 10 different homes, moving around Ohio his entire childhood. I would love to hear that story of how you became LeBron James against all odds, instead of always professing the odds are against all people.
Please, listen to the man. I just don't understand how, I feel like I'm alone and I'm with y'all, but like we are alone in this world of just common sense. You got brothers out here who are highly successful. You know, both of these brothers are highly successful. They're running an entire show, an incredible segment, but they can't tell you about how to succeed. How the system has benefited them in a positive direction. How did they turn, coming from the bottom, now we here. How can they tell you that story? They don't never want to tell you the story. They go up and they make it and they do all these wonderful things and they overcome so many adversities and they become such great people, but they never want to talk about how they did it. They only want to talk about the George Floyds and all these people who are ending their lives in miserable fashion because of poor decision making. They only want to highlight their stories. It's like when I was in high school. They only supported, and everybody wanted to be like the dummies in school, the ones not going to class, and the person that's out here being all this, doing all these different things, getting in trouble. Everybody wanted to be like him. He was so free. He was so cool. All the women liked the bad boy, but they don't. They always want to highlight the bad ones. Talk about the good. Talk about the success. Finish, man. Finish.
I love LeBron James. I think he's the GOAT. So don't get me started on this, but you got to look before you leap. In anything in life, I don't give a damn if you're rich, poor, or ugly. You got to look before you leap. LeBron just leaped in this one because he knew his followers would catch him. And that's a problem. I give it to you like this. One, your skin is not your sin. So we're over here now having our kids grow up in a world where they're going to know victims' names before they know professors' names.
100%. Tell me everybody got Michael Brown, they got murals of these people. And let's see who he say that they need to know instead of all these criminals.
And why scholars like Thomas Sowell or something.
There you go. So give him a round of applause. Somebody give him a round of applause. I get the lights. Woo! All right, I'm gonna get banned if I keep that up. Anyway, Thomas Sowell. Do you know who Thomas Sowell is? If you don't, I'm going to let him finish and I'm going to talk to you about him.
Something like that. But here's the sentence. Tell me how you feel about this sentence. LeBron James says, I'm so damn tired of seeing black people killed by police. With that platform. How about this sentence? Instead of that, I'm so damn tired of seeing black people killed. Dog, 250 black people killed by police every year. That's
Tell him.
250 too many people.
Tell him.
But in the macro sense, there's 7,500 homicides to black people every single year.
Tell it.
Well, I'm not saying, LeBron, you got to put the focus on that fully, but let's be responsible. We're going to just go in there and say, I want to save 250 people, which we all do. But there's 7,500 in totality that never gets the discussion because the people with the platform are not highlighting that. And look, I grew up trying to navigate around that. I am not scared of the police, brother. I wasn't then. I'm LeBron.
Somebody get this man an award. People, listen, y'all. People, I don't know why people are allergic to keeping it real. I don't know why they're allergic to this. Just like Marcellus said, I wasn't in any way worried about police when I was growing up. My mama never gave me a talk and said, son, when you get around the police, you put your hands on the steering wheel. My mama gave me plenty of talks of saying, boy, you better not go out the house with that stuff on. You better take them shoestrings out your shoelaces. You can't put red shoelaces in them shoes because they going to think you gangbanging. Somebody going to shoot you. Now you can't walk on Lil John at night. You ain't walking over there. Now I'm going to drive you over your cousin them house on Lil John. You ain't walking to Lil John. I don't trust these people out here. My mama ain't never told me about no cop. My daddy ain't never told me about police officers. But a constant reminder is about other black people who are incredibly dangerous. Police officers, they come here and there. You might get caught up. It's only one officer, two officers per every 1,000 people. Come on, bro. You ain't really you ain't seeing them. And then they can't, you in the park and you smoking weed and you see them, you take out running. They ain't gonna chase you. They can't chase you. You too far gone. They ain't even got the car yet. Y'all in the bushes. Me and my cousin them used to smoke weed right there at the park on Lil John. I don't even know the name of that little park right there where I bust my eye open. We in the smoking weed in the tree. We 8, 9 years old, joking and high. Police come. If they try to get out the car, we just gonna run. There's no way they're gonna catch us. We just run through the bushes. There ain't no way they're gonna catch us. We weren't worried about them. We worried about gangbangers. When I was growing up and I was in high school, when I would go to the corner store or whatever, I was worried about thugs looking at me like, oh, this bro ain't hood like we are. I pull up looking nice. I'm trying to go to college. Some brother look at me and be like, think they can try me. I wasn't afraid of no police, man. And I don't know why people lying about this stuff. LeBron James. I'm afraid to leave my house. LeBron James, you are a god in America. You're a god around the world. You are a god. Stop trying to act like you are still down with the people. It's okay to grow up and grow out. It's okay to have grown up in the hood and you made something better for yourself. You don't have to try to lie and make an excuse, act like you really with it, that you really are involved. You are a god. People worship LeBron James. LeBron James leave his house, he'll never get a traffic ticket. People want to get his autograph. Even police officers, they will just admire seeing LeBron James. Oh man, that was LeBron James drove by there. You ain't finna give LeBron James a ticket. Ask how many tickets he's ever gotten. Ask LeBron how many tickets. He ain't never got a ticket a day in his life. He probably don't even drive himself around. He probably got a chauffeur. And bro, you can't even go to the mall. LeBron James can't go to the mall. People will be worshiping him and kissing his dirty toenails. LeBron James is, bro, what are you even talking about? LeBron James can run for president and people probably vote for him. You know, so it's all this fantasy world stuff that I wish that we would evolve from. I used to feel the same way. I used to think the same way. I used to feel like black people were so oppressed and everything. And then I grew out of that. I started realizing that, man, this is all a fake world I'm living in. Police ain't really tripping on black people like that. You know, people that I know that got in trouble with the police, they commit crimes, bro. And I realized, well, they shouldn't have done that. Then when I got older, I realized they grown. They didn't have to do that. When I was younger, I thought that's what they had to do. When I got grown, I'm like, you could have got a job. You could have got a job. You could have worked 2 jobs. If you'd have worked on that job, you could have been promoted as a manager if you'd have put in the work, even without a degree. And then you would have been promoted as a manager. You could have made the money that you made selling drugs. And then if you could become a GM, start your own business, then you could have made the money that you was making selling drugs across state lines. And then you wouldn't be spending 40 years in prison federal time. That's my uncle, my great uncle. Come on, man. Come on. It's no excuses, man. Let's stop making excuses. LeBron James needs to be more responsible for the things he's saying. Thomas Sowell is a brilliant person, probably the smartest man on planet Earth. If you haven't heard of Thomas Sowell, you need to go look him up. Look up Thomas Sowell, common spelling. You can probably figure it out how to spell all that. Look up Thomas Sowell. Look at his books. He got an incredible book that I've read, and I need to start reading again because I read the beginning of it, and it already blew my mind. One of the concepts that he said in his book, I think is discrimination and disparities. One thing he said in his book was that just because there's disparity doesn't mean there's discrimination. And he went through and he spoke about disparities amongst households that 2 people have the same parents, although they don't. The outcome is not the same. Although one kid may be not as successful in school, although they live at the same house. He brought up a study that was done in America and also overseas of the benefit of being the firstborn child. Most of firstborn children typically do better than the subsequent children. That's not racism. That's not discrimination. That's a disparity that has context to it. And it doesn't mean somebody's doing something wrong because there's disparities that occur. Some disparities occur naturally. Just because black people are incarcerated a higher number don't mean that there's racism involved. Don't mean that there's discrimination involved. You have to look at the components. You have to look at culture. You have to look at repeat offenders. You have to look at aggravated charges. You have to look at all of these factors. You have to say, okay, this is probably the reason why, or this could be an answer to the reason why black people are overrepresented in this fashion. Not because there's racist boogeyman out there. We already know that that's not true because we can never fix anything. It is 2021 and we still talking about racism and white supremacy. 2021, we still haven't done anything about it. It's supposedly worse now. That's because it never existed. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. Ain't no white man, KKK member somehow thwarting your success. All these black people go to historical black colleges and universities. How you complaining? You go to a black university that's made for black people. A whole bunch of them. And they still making excuses. The white man didn't tell you to drive over the speed limit or resist arrest or have a bag of weed in your pocket. And one thing that makes me mad, and I'm going to get off this because I need to make sure that my wife's friend can get in the car like she's supposed to, or that they showed up like they were supposed to. But one thing that always bothered me, and I'm going to move on, is that people talk about the 94 crime bill. Only reason I bring up the 94 crime bill is because Democrats, I'm playing the game against them. They claim to care about black people, but they did something that disproportionately affect black people. And they claim that disproportionality refers to racism and discrimination. So they are the discriminatory element in black people's lives. However, I put the responsibility in part, probably in a large part, on black people. Nobody told you to sell weed. Everybody know weed is illegal. Why is my dad not doing time in prison? He grew up in the projects because my dad decided not to break the law. My dad decided to be a busboy and make money the legal way, even when it was little money. And then he became a firefighter. He served his community. That's how he got out the hood. He didn't have to sell drugs. Neither did these other people. 94 crime bill and all this other stuff, that didn't have nothing to do with my dad. Because my dad wasn't committing crimes. Could my dad have used the extra $400,000 a year selling big weed, big dope, big crack, heroin across state lines? Yeah, he could have made a whole bunch of money. But my dad now retired, and my stepdad died from heroin overdose probably 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So you pick your poison. You pick which life you want to live. Anyway, I could talk about this for 24 more hours. But I want you to watch the rest of my videos, and I want to talk about Tyler Perry in his next video. So I love you. I appreciate you guys. Y'all make sure y'all go over to my next video because I got more to talk about with Tyler Perry. Subscribe to the channel. Y'all know what to do. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out.